In the evening, Norma could hardly find the strength to get to the computer and print out an essay for her son. The woman sighed heavily, thinking that she had to do everything herself again. Their son had sent his essay to his father to print out on a colour printer at his work, but Liam had simply forgotten about his son's request. And now Norma had to do it herself late at night. Liam had already gone to bed, and he was so lazy that he preferred to give her the password to his phone just to do nothing. While Norma was searching for her son's message, she accidentally noticed a correspondence between her husband and a woman, written down as accountant. At first, Norma didn't even realise who was the silly chicken they kept referring to, but she soon realised that it was about her. Her first impulse was to wake her husband and give him a row, but then her son came into the room to ask about the essay, and Norma decided she should not sort things out in front of the children. Besides, she was so tired today that she had no energy left. Norma sighed, promised her son to print out the essay and sent him to bed, while she returned to her husband's correspondence with his mistress. He had probably marked the woman as accountant so that his wife would not guess anything. Norma read and became more and more horrified. It turned out that her husband and his mistress were constantly discussing Norma's health, literally waiting for her to leave this world and making plans for their life together. Tears came to her eyes. She did have a disappointing diagnosis, cancer, and probably she could understand her husband because for him life would continue in any case. But what he planned to do with their children was beyond her comprehension. As it became clear from the messages, her husband's mistress was a fierce, child-free, and did not plan to have her own, much less raise Liam's children. She was going to live her whole life for herself, and Norma's husband was in solidarity with her. "You're right, there are many problems with children. My wife wanted to, and forced them on me. Be patient, honey. This silly chicken doesn't have much time left. With a diagnosis like that, she doesn't have a chance. And then I'll send the children to a boarding school." Norma did not know what her husband's mistress looked like. There were no pictures, but for some reason she imagined her like a young, well-groomed woman, not like her, exhausted from work, household chores, and a serious illness. When Norma found out about her diagnosis, she herself suggested that her husband find someone else, but he assured her of his love and said that he would go through it no matter what. Norma then imbued with respect for Liam, but it turned out that it was all a cruel deception. Norma did not sleep half the night, thinking about what to do with the revealed truth, and eventually she decided not to quarrel with her husband. The woman became more thoughtful, but Liam did not pay any attention to it, explaining it by her admitting the impending end. But Norma, on the contrary, decided to cope with the disease at any cost, at least for the children. To achieve this, she had to go to an expensive clinic for one more test and surgery. She had not enough money. All of her salary went to her children and running costs, and her husband, as she understood from the messages, just tricked her, and most of his fairly high salary was used to spend on his mistress. Norma was already thinking about a loan, but then her parents helped, who finally found a buyer for their summer house. The woman was happy because she had a chance to survive. Her parents sent her to the best clinic, where immediately after the examination it became clear that Norma had no cancer. Norma asked to double-check several times, and she never would have thought that she would cry when she heard such good news. Although she did need a little scheduled surgery, it was like a miracle, as if God had heard her prayers. The woman wept with happiness, realizing that now no one would be able to put her children in a boarding school. But she decided to teach her shameless husband a lesson. Before the surgery, the woman told Liam that her diagnosis was confirmed and she only had days to live, and to avoid her family seeing her suffering, she decided to move to a hospice. "Is there no hope of recovery at all?" asked Liam with ill-concealed joy. Norma nodded sadly, saying that this was definitely the end. Having forbidden him to visit her at the hospice, the woman quietly went to the hospital. After surgery, Norma went to a good sanatorium, where she underwent a course of rehabilitation therapy. The woman was enjoying her days in the sanatorium, but at the same time, she did not forget to monitor the correspondence of her husband with his mistress. If only he had known what a mistake it was to give his phone to his wife and ask her to print out that essay. He would have done everything himself. But it was too late to change anything. Meanwhile, the impudent couple were already preparing for Norma's imminent death. Almost every day, they were discussing how they would redesign the apartment, make a large dressing room out of the son's room. And the brazen mistress had already found a suitable boarding school for the children, and Liam was truly grateful to her for that. "What would I do without you, honey?" wrote Liam to his mistress. "Really, what would you do, hubby?" grinned Norma. "Lessons with the kids, I guess." Monitoring this stuff every day was disgusting to Norma, and as soon as she felt rested and refreshed, she decided it was time to end it all and crush her ungrateful husband's illusionary plans for a happy future. One day, Liam received a call from his mother-in-law, saying that she was going on a vacation with her husband and planned to take her grandchildren with her. As soon as the children left, Liam wrote to his mistress that he had got rid of the annoying kids and prepared a romantic evening for her at their future family nest. Liam himself went to pick up his lady of the heart in a cab, so that together with her he could step into a new life. Judging by how hard he was breathing when he opened the door, he probably even carried her in his arms into the apartment. "Soon everything will be ours," he whispered in a rush of passion, and then began tearing off her clothes. The couple headed into the living room, where there was a comfortable couch. Liam turned on the light and froze. His wife and father-in-law were sitting at the table. "Surprise," said Norma cheerfully, noting with pleasure the frightened and stunned look her husband had at that moment. "What does it all mean? Who are you?" asked Liam's mistress confusedly. Norma shifted her gaze to her rival and almost laughed. A skinny woman with a thick layer of makeup on her face, she was so silly that she did not even understand what had happened. Norma did not expect her husband to exchange her for such a woman. The mistress kept demanding explanations, but Liam only shielded her with himself, muttering something inaudible. Suddenly the doorbell rang. Norma went to open it. It turned out to be a courier bringing food from a restaurant. The woman brought the packages of food into the living room and looked inside. "Wow, the food here is only for 2. Well, that's okay. We'll divide it up for everyone. Bring some plates," she addressed her husband's mistress. "I don't know where it is." The woman was confused. "Really? But I thought you've already studied the whole layout here," answered Norma, looking questioningly at her husband. And only then Liam's mistress realized what it was all about, and shouting curses, ran out of the apartment. Norma's father followed her with a glance and grinned with a shrug. Liam tried to justify himself, but Norma immediately stopped him and made it clear that she had been aware of this whole sordid story for a long time and didn't need any explanation. I have already consulted a lawyer, and I advise you, while I'm being kind, to pack your things quickly and get out of here far away," she said coldly, while her father went to change the lock on the front door. Afterward, Norma spent 3 wonderful days outside with her parents and children. Of course she was hurt and uncomfortable, but the revenge was a little comforting. The children, hearing that their father would no longer live with them, were not upset at all, for he had not paid much attention to them before. Norma stayed to live with the children in their apartment, and Liam had to look for a new place to live and pay high alimony. Upon learning all this, his mistress left him at once. For a long time, Liam accused his wife of cheating and destroying the family over a trifle. According to his version, he was stressed because of his wife's imaginary illness, and this justified him. Liam also accused his former mistress of lying and being mercenary, and so it turned out that everyone around him, except for him, were all calculating liars. How is it possible to trust women and have new relationships after that? He wondered, sitting in his rented room. But all he heard in response was silence.